Hey guys, Leaf the Path for Now Art here, and I hope you're all having a super creative day. Today I'm working on a piece of fan art for a map that should be going up pretty soon. I think most of the parts are done for it. It's hosted by Hida 8th Sun and Sparrow's World, and it's the Ready As I'll Ever Be map with Breeze Pelt and Ivy Pool, and so far all the animations look amazing, and I just missed being able to enter the thumbnail contest, but I really wanted to do something for the map anyway, so I thought, why not, I'll just make some fan art. I really wanted to do it because their designs are amazing, and I had a pretty good idea for a composition. And I'll talk more about the composition later because that was actually something that had a lot of time put into it. Even though it probably doesn't look like much, it was pretty fun to do, and I believe it really has changed the way that I look at composition. But we'll talk more about that later because that's kind of a story. Right now we're going to talk some more about the map. It's set to the Ready As I'll Ever Be Tangled song, which is a really great song. And the map follows Breeze Pelt deciding to join the Dark Forest in the ultimate big warriors battle that happens in... I don't remember what series it happens in, let alone what book it happens in, but it's around the Power of Three thing. But it's after Hollyleaf isn't part of it anymore. But it follows Breeze Pelt's decision to join the Dark Forest, and then like the big getting ready for the battle thing with the Star Clan and the Dark Forest. It's pretty cool. And I really loved the character designs that they made. Ivy Pool in particular is really nice, and Breeze Pelt, I love his little blue nose. It's a weird little detail, but I really like it. And like I said, the animations are gorgeous. I've seen some of the parts that have come out, and they all just look spectacular. It's not very often that a really great map comes out like this, and I think there's actually a couple that are going to be coming out this year that look really good, like the what's it called? The one about Gray Stripe and Silverstream is supposed to be coming out, and that one looks really good too. So we're going to talk a little bit about the composition, and so far you haven't seen much of it, but when the video ends, it'll do a little slide by, so you'll kind of get a chance to see it, and there will be a link in the description to see the full image on DeviantArt. Because really none of my other social medias can accommodate this kind of picture because it's really long, but it's not very tall. It's about 10,000 pixels wide, but it's still really short, like average picture kind of short. So it really is difficult to view, which is a shame because I'm really proud of how the composition turned out, but for digital viewing, it's just not ideal. So I made a sketch for a video, or I made a sketch for the drawing first, and it didn't look a lot like this one. It just wasn't as good. It had the same characters and everything in about the same positions, but something was off with it. And I talked to a friend of mine who is in art school, and she was just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to composition and just the way that this drawing is made up. And honestly, she was such an amazing help. I really appreciate what she put into it because she really didn't have to, but it was absolutely fabulous. And she taught me how to do the rule of thirds thing, and I've heard of the rule of thirds before, but I was always like, that's for like old people. That's for people who don't do hip cat art like me. Psh, rule of thirds, more like rule of old. But actually, it turned out really good, and I just put their heads in the corners where she showed me, and it looks really nice, and your eyes just draw right towards them. I don't know how that worked, but it did, and I'm so glad that she taught me how to do it, because I would have probably gone my entire life, or at least several more years, without ever actually putting in that effort, and I'm so glad that I did. But then she also showed me how to keep the brighter parts of the drawing away from the edges so they didn't draw you off the drawing. And it's just, she gave me a lot of like really nice tips. And I honestly don't know what I would have done if she hadn't, because it has made this particular drawing look a million times better. Speaking of a million times better, I have no idea what this video is going to look like after I export it, because right now it doesn't look great at all, because the film, or the original view time of the footage itself, was 7 hours. And for whatever reason, when I shrink it in Vegas Pro, it's always jumpy and like laggy, and it's annoying, and I don't know how to fix it. So if any of you guys do speed paints and you know how to fix this issue, I would appreciate it if you would type down in the comments below, because right now I'm at my wit's end trying to get this to work right. The background is another thing that I'm super proud of, because I spent a lot of time on it, and that's something that I've been doing a lot lately, is spending a lot of time on the backgrounds. And I usually really dislike doing backgrounds, but I've learned that if you treat them as layers, so you do the grass layer first, and then you do the sky layer, and then you just build and build and build and build and build, so that each piece of the background has its own layer, and it makes it less messy. And I know that you can't really do that on traditional art, but I don't do a lot of backgrounds in traditional art because it uses a lot of material, and it just usually doesn't look as good, which is totally me, and it reflects not at all on traditional art. But for me, at least, I have a really hard time with it. But yeah, I worked really hard on the grass to try and give it a little texture, even though I kind of like suck at grass. And I added these little dandelions, but in the end they get covered up by her Star Clan warrior cat, which is kind of sad, because I really like the dandelions looked, but at the same time I think that they were a little distracting. So I think it's better that I took them out. And then it's a weird thing to be proud of, but the little bit of mud on Breeze Pelt's side looks super nice to me, I think, because I just think it looks good. It's just one of those things that's something that I've always wanted to try to do, is like do grass but then do dirt in the middle of it. And it's something that I always have trouble with, so I'm just glad that it worked out this time. And then I did challenge myself this time, and I used no gradients on the background. So even in a place like on the sky where it was just flat colors, I told myself that I wasn't going to use gradients, and I didn't. I used the airbrush tool, and I honestly think it looks a million times better than it does when I usually use gradients, because it still has lines, obviously, because in order to get it to blend right, for me at least, I have to have the airbrush going in one way or it just gets messy. I've tried doing the circle thing, and I really don't like the way it works, but it looks like, because the lines are in the direction of like the quote-unquote sun, or the light source, which should definitely be the moon, but the moon's kind of dim in this particular picture, so the moon didn't get to be the light source either. But so the left side is the dark forest, and it's just hanging out over there. And the forest was kind of hard to do because I've always been bad at trees. For as long as I've been drawing, I've been bad at trees. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward with the fog, and then the soft gradients coming from both sides, making it really dark on either side, and then the little eyes. It just, I think it looks really good. It's probably not as good as I think it is. I'm probably being super cocky right now, but I'm just really proud of the way it turned out, because in context of other drawings, similar drawings that I've made, it looks better than that. And I mean, isn't that really what's most important anyway? The background, I always love doing night skies, and on this particular one it was super fun too, because I got to do like a moon that I've always sort of wanted to do, which is where the moon is like partially covered, but you can still kind of see the rest of the moon behind it. That's like one of my favorite moons, and I kind of did that just to make it look nice. To make it look less like a cartoon moon and more like an actual moon. Even though, obviously, I'm not going for realism in much of my art at all. Except for, like, my animal portraits and whatnot. But it's a very stylized moon, but it looks like it could be a real moon, you know. I also had a lot of fun with the little demon cats. I don't think that the Star Clan cat on the other side looks as good, but specifically the bottom demon cat I'm super proud of, because it looks like something out of a folklore kind of storybook kind of thing, and I'm super proud of that. Honestly, like, I rushed some of this painting because it took so long, and I did it in 2 days, which is usually where I have difficulties paying attention after that. But usually if I'm going to do a painting that's going to take a long time, I try to do it over 4 days or something, because it's just easier on my process and the drawing usually turns out better. But this time it seems like I am always just on the edge of missing my deadline, which is probably because I am. Because I am not even remotely what you would call a responsible person. But I rushed it, and so I was worried that some of the drawing wouldn't be so good because I was rushing a lot of it. But in all honesty, it just didn't turn out that bad, and on the parts that I did rush, like I did rush the blue cat over here. But like, I paid attention and I made sure that it still looked good, even though I wasn't necessarily rushing, like, oh, I just want to get this done, because I did really care about the drawing and its process. It was more that I was just trying to do it a little faster, because at some point you do just get exasperated with the whole process. This is me trying to put the dandelion back into a different spot. And in the end, I just decided to leave it because it just didn't look good anywhere except for that one spot. And here is another thing that I had a really good time with, was the shading. Especially on her, because the shading on Bree's palette looks pretty good, but it doesn't look as good as hers. And I did something new again, and it always seems like I'm finding some new way to do shading, but that's because, you know, I'm still new. I mean, I'm not new, but I'm still, like, relatively learning, you know. And I believe that it's a good sign if you're always learning to do art better, you know. You should always be striving for better. But on this one, I usually pick a color that coincides with the background of the painting. So in this one, I was going to do a bluish purple, because, you know, of all the blues in the background and all the everything. But I decided against that because she was standing on the grass, and if the light coming down from the moon was bouncing off the grass, then it would turn green. Or, you know, wherever that magic light from above is coming from. And so what I ended up doing was I used the green grass, I used a dark green color for all the shading below, and then I used a dark blue color, and I kind of tinted the shading on her spine and just anywhere that the moonlight would directly touch. And, like, honestly, I think it looks pretty good. I know I'm saying that a lot, and I probably sound really conceited by now, but I'm just super proud of this drawing, and at this time, I'm almost running out of things to say, so I'm kind of babbling a little bit to try and fill the time. seeing on him, I put some purple in there to reflect like the forest on his other side that's super dark and emo. And this was just a really enjoyable drawing to do. Even though I did push myself to get some of it done faster than others, I still really liked it, and I still really like the way it turned out. I don't think that rushing it affected it negatively, because it wasn't, like I said, I still spent 7 hours on it, so it wasn't like I was rushing to get it done fast. It was just that it took a long time, so by the end it seemed like I was rushing it. But I think I'm just about out of time now, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it here. So I will see all you guys later. I hope you all have a really great day, a really creative day, and I'll see you next week with another video, hopefully on time again. Bye.